Proudly presented by Pence Homes and part of the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network. This is Links Happy Hour. Andrew, my man, Andrew, welcome back to another episode of Links Happy Hour. I'm going to act like we just started talking, even though we've been talking for several minutes now, and just realized we need to save some of these takes, these burning hot bits of knowledge for the podcast. How are you, man? I feel like it's been too long since I've seen you.
Man, this is the problem when the WNBA is only playing for 5 months. You go 7 months without having to sit next to me, which, you know, it is what it is. I'll be honest, I've been following WNBA stuff. I haven't been 100% locked in because I am in full Wolves mode and Gophers women's basketball, which I'm not a college basketball expert. I can tell you most of the players on the other team that the Gophers are playing next, and that is it.
Right.
So if you want some Wyoming hot takes for this weekend, I
do want some Wyoming hot takes for this weekend.
They don't seem very good.
Okay. Scalding. No, I'm glad you're covering Gopher women's hoops this season. Let's just chat with them a little bit. I think they are maybe the best Minnesota sports team right now because their last loss was the most Minnesota sports ass loss I've ever seen. I'm not trying to diminish Don Plitzowitz' team right now because the Gopher women are 7-3. A lot of good tape out there. Mara Braun is back. Amaya Battle is doing her thing. I'm going to ask you for a little bit more insight as you've been at, I think, all the games. But man, that Maryland game.
Woof. You
have
the final possession in regulation to win it, and you get a underhand scoop shot off by your center, Sophie Hart. Not ideal. You're up 5 with under a minute left in the first overtime, and you let that one slip away. And then you're up 9 with under a minute in the second overtime.
9.
And that also gets squandered away. It was, I mean, I think that has to be up there for like one of the worst losses in program history.
He's certainly most heartbreaking. And it was like, I don't know what 3 biggest collapses in Gopher women's hoops history are, but I think the top 3 all happened in that game with end of regulation, end of first overtime, end of second overtime. Of course, love to see him get back for a get right game against Alabama A&M, winning by like 45 points. But man, it'd be so fun right now if they were 8-2, 1-0 in conference play with that upset over number 7 Maryland, who is, I believe, 12-0 right now. Former Gopher coach Brenda Fries from a lifetime ago. All kinds of storylines there. But yeah, I was watching that game and just tearing things apart. Because I mean, it was funny because like the Vikings were playing at the same time and playing well for the first time in a year and a half. So I was just like, oh, like what a relaxing Sunday afternoon this is. And then I flipped the other TV onto the Gopher women's game, and I was like, this is gonna be amazing, as it looked like they were gonna win. And I was like, well, at least one team has to be destroying me right now. So that's what we call equilibrium. But really disappointing loss. That was just, I'm still sad about it.
It's really disappointing because they have put together a good resume, right? Like they beat Marquette by 40, which Marquette was in the tourney last year. They were predicted to be second in the Big East. They have really kind of run through their non-conference schedule, including like a win over Southern SFU, Southern Florida, the alma mater of Courtney Williams. So USF, they stomped both of the stud buds, alma mater.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I saw that I was looking at the schedule. I didn't even make that connection.
So they have those 2 wins that are both like good wins. Their losses this year are at Kansas, which, you know, Kansas women isn't Kansas men, but still a blue blood school. They were undefeated at the time when they beat the Gophers. And then at Alabama, technically at Alabama, but it was in the Bahamas tournament where they played in front of 17 people. And both of those losses were by like under 10 points. Their defense looked good. And that Maryland one, I think, is where this team is. Like, they are a top 20 school in the country defensively. Their offense kind of waxes and wanes, but their defense is always there.
Mm-hmm.
And going into the Big Ten, I mean, that's kind of what you want. They have 7 players that are shooting more than 6 shots a game. They have a deep team. Sophomore Tori McKinney has been really their best
Right.
scorer in a lot of these games. And then, like you said, Mara and Amaya are both back and healthy, and kind of, they're both kind of struggling to score a little bit, but they do all of
Right.
the other things right. So Gophers women's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, I do, like you, if they beat that Maryland team, that we're probably talking about them being ranked in the top 20 this week.
Right.
Instead, they're still in that receiving votes category and just right outside of it. But they're definitely going to be a tournament team this year. Like, no doubt
Right.
about it.
Yeah. Grace Kracholski is a player I like a lot too. I want to make
She's
sure everyone gets proper name recognition on this podcast.
Grace is a really good shooter. I also it's funny because I try and bring my style of reporting to the college game as well. So I'm asking them like philosophical questions about what they would have changed in their development while
Mm,
switching from a small forward to a, kind of off ball point guard. And
yeah.
stumped Grace with that one. She was like, I don't even know how to answer that. And I was like, okay.
Nice. Well, I want to join you on the beat for some of these games if I'm allowed to be a guest reporter. I'm sure uh, the Gophs won't have any problem with that. Shout out to
Alabama A&M. It was just me, Oos. I did the
Hey.
entire press conference. I was the only one in the media section looking like the Unabomber up there. And I mean, what I would say for anyone that's listening to this podcast or listens
Where's
to
the
my
student
podcast,
media at? Come on.
not even student media,
I
like no
know.
one. But I like
That's disappointing. I mean, I
that's
have some
kind of
calls
my
to make.
point, is if you're a young person in media or you're new to media, which, like, I'm still fairly new. I've only been doing this for like 5 years. But like, you get to be pretty much all access with the Gophers women right now, because there isn't anyone but like me and people from afar covering them. So like, if you're working for SB Nation or the 9 and you're trying to break through, or you're working for zone coverage or Canis Hoopus, like, just reach out to them and ask if you can get like single game credentials. It's
Right.
reps and it's an experience. Like, Dawn is a good coach to talk to. You can get a lot of insight from just being around them.
Hopefully some in that media section, you know. But I also know that you're happy to be away from people as much as possible. Um, but yeah, they look good, man. And I think once we get into the nitty gritty of Big Ten play, they'll have a real opportunity. So maybe I'll see you at a few games. Maybe this Sunday. Am I doing anything this Sunday? I could do it.
I will not
But
be there this Sunday.
oh well, damn
The
it then,
ones that
Andrew.
I miss are the ones where the Wolves home games overlap. So I will
Oh,
technically be
that
in the
makes
Target
sense.
Center.
All right, well, maybe I'll sub for you then. I don't know.
You'll
Or
be the only one there.
maybe I'll come to Target Center. That Sunday, January 11th against USC is when I can probably do. January work weeknights again, so it'll be harder. But um, yeah, and yeah, I can't make it to that UCLA game because obviously people have crazy Lauren Betts takes, and she'll be here
Cheryl will
in person.
probably be there.
I'm sure, but Cheryl also knows everything already. Like
Yeah,
that was I understand like people are going to do their due diligence and coaches are going to be at games, but when people were like, "Ooh, look at Cheryl checking out Lauren Betts already," I'm like, Cheryl has watched every available second of Lauren Betts film already. There isn't a stone that's been unturned on this prospect watch. So yeah,
yeah.
Cheryl is at the UCLA Texas game. Sure, she knows like in Game of Thrones, where Sir Davos says, "Lord Varys knows what you had for breakfast 3 days ago." Like
That's
he's
Cheryl.
yeah, she's not missing anything. So yeah, Cheryl already knows everything about Lauren Betts. But she'll probably be at that game anyway. So if you see her,
Probably.
go say what's up. This episode of Links Happy Hour is brought to you by Pence Homes. The team at Pence Homes has experience working with first-time home buyers, folks selling their first home and buying their next place, to people looking to downsize. With the best tools, technology, and trusted vendors to help with any home project, Pence Homes is a top choice for buyers and sellers. For more info and to set up a time to meet with Nate and the team to talk about your home buying or selling needs, visit pencehomes.com. That is Pence, PENTZHOMES.com. What's going on with the CBA, which is everyone's favorite offseason reality show. You have the last episode of the Missing Links podcast features you and the great Noah Delzell. You guys talk a lot about it. We don't need to, regurgitate everything from that episode. Go listen to that, listeners. I'm sure you've listened to it already, but get that episode fired up. We're kind of in this stage where right now, as we are talking on Friday, December 12th, early in the afternoon, these extensions get agreed to, and then we don't hear much for a while. The league is still kind of doing their thing in making sure only the juiciest, biggest numbers about one thing get released to try and paint the players as, being greedy and unreasonable. We haven't even seen that for a number of days.
Yeah.
All's pretty quiet, maybe a little too quiet. But silence, which is golden, always is especially a good sign in things like this. I was talking about that a little bit with Anna and Angie on the episode last week, but no one's trashed each other in the press, at least recently.
For like a week.
Or like a week. That's like 10 months in CBA time. So I don't know, just as someone who's, what is kind of the Andrew Dukowitz meter of optimism at right now?
So we're not going to go like seconds to midnight meter of optimism, because that would be like the league's about to explode if I'm on that scale. But like I would say I'm like in the 90% sure it's going to get done before the season. Like we're going to have a season this year. I'll say, the last time the league leaked out, like, we're offering players $1 million contracts and
right.
$300,000 minimum or whatever.
They were doing like their best Oprah impression with that too, making it seem like they're going like, you get $1 million and you get $1 million.
And the math is not difficult. Like we have the current salary cap. Like you can just do some quick
arithmetic. That was it.
Yeah,
you didn't need to pass trigonometry to know that math wasn't mathing.
Like middle school algebra. And if you just do the math, they're basically offering the players a 10% revenue share, which is 0.2% higher than they're getting now, which is not great. So I think the players kind of clapping back last week of like the league's trying to get rid of our housing and the league is offering us 15% or 10 to 15%. I think that was the players just kind of saying like, hey, let's stop this. Like everyone shut up in the public. We have more dirt on you than you have on us.
Of course.
And then it went quiet, which I think quiet like you is good. I think it's a really good sign that things aren't being leaked, because when things are being leaked, you're trying to sway the public opinion one way or the other. And I let's just be honest, the WNBA doesn't have a very good track record with public opinion on anything.
Right. So, a league office specifically. When you say WNBA, we mean the league office.
Correct. Like Kathy
the narcs.
Exactly, the nerds out there, not like the league office secretary. I'm sure they're very nice, but like the head league office. I'll say like it's kind of twofold with my thoughts on like the CBA getting done. Is one, I think both sides are acutely aware that this next season and the 2027 season are going to be massive for this league. because
Mhm.
baseball is on the decline viewership wise, and they seem to
And
be hurling towards a lockout in 2027. So you don't want to lose that momentum. And the other
right.
side of it is 60% of the league is owned by rich guys that have nothing to do with the league. Like those guys are going to want their check from all of these new media deals and don't really care what the league front office is getting because they just want their money. So when
Sure.
you have uber rich people that just want their return on investment and you have the league offices and players knowing how important it is, I think it just gets done.
Lots of great deal making in the past that rich guys who don't care about the league on the majority of the league. Great decision making. Every time we talk about this, I can hear Cheryl in my head the number of times when she was chatting with us as, this league has been reactive for so long and just
Yep.
needs to be proactive. Um, yeah, you guys talked about this a little bit too. The housing bit really frustrates me because we throughout like during the 2025 season, as talks about the CBA like came into the focus and people are talking about it, no one was ever mentioning housing.
Mm-hmm.
And one day we were talking about like this is gonna be like a pain point in these negotiations,
Yeah.
and because the league doesn't want to force teams to provide it. I'm sure owners don't want to, or I mean, might claim they want to, but it's probably an expense they don't want to have to deal with. But the way your league is structured, the schedule is the schedule, and
Mm-hmm.
you have these players for 5 to 6 months, and you also need the players who aren't going to get this juicy salary that you're releasing as like the pretty max salary number. You'll have players on 7 days, or if that becomes 10 days with this new CBA, then the 10-day contracts. You have players who are like coming in, coming out, and they need to be housed. It's a
Yeah.
basic, should be a human right, and is a basic necessity for professional athletes to perform. And like 70% of the league would be affected by that negatively, and it's not the players that they're putting on, the pretty marketing bulls, but they're
Mm-hmm.
players that you absolutely need. And no one was really discussing this over the summer, and now it's popping up. And it, it's just the most obvious thing in the world that like the league was going to be an asshole about this.
Yeah.
When it's like, okay, yeah, now fee you can make $1 million, but we're gonna throw your teammates out on the streets. Cameron Taylor can't have an apartment anymore. Like
Yep.
that's the
To
translation
sign a 6 month
of it.
lease for a 10-day apartment or get an
Sure.
Airbnb somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
So I hope they come to some resolution there and have it be like it's hard to make that clean across the board because cost of living in every city is so different.
yeah.
Uh, but there needs to be like a bare minimum agreed to because we've just heard horror stories about where other markets make players live or what's provided. Of course, the players aren't for fans who don't pay attention to this because also it's boring and who cares.
Yep.
But the players aren't forced to accept the provided housing. They can do
Mm-hmm.
whatever they want, but leagues are required to provide some form of suitable housing. And in the Lynx case, players opt in. Shocking. The Lynx are pretty good at this and make it a place that is convenient and comfortable to provide healthy living so that players are happy and can enjoy their time here and also be have everything they need to perform well for the team. Not every team is across the
Yeah.
board as successful in that, so I don't know. But yeah, we've
I
talked
think
to
the other thing that's going to be a sticking point, and I'm really interested to see what they do, is the non-compete stuff.
yeah,
Because I do think,
that's messy.
the league, if I had to put money on it, I would say the league probably wants to get to 60 games by the end of the decade.
Good Lord, no.
I
That's
mean, let's just be realistic. Like it
all right. Well,
every year it's going up a little bit. If they add 4 games next year, 4 games the year after, like I just think we're going to get there at some point, whether it's this CBA or the next one. And if you're at a 60 game season, that's 20 extra games. That's an extra month or month and a half of basketball. You're going to need a non compete with some of these Euro teams. So you're not losing players at the beginning of the season or in the playoffs. And I don't know how that gets done without a massive increase in salary on that end, too.
60 games
I
is
mean,
so dumb.
because I think like Fee and Stewie would fold unrivaled. Like, like
If they
if
had
they
to.
got like $5 million max contracts and the vet minimum was 800,000, I think Fee and Stewie would be like, all right, well, unrivaled's done. Like we set out to do what we wanted to do.
Ooh.
We did it. But like I
I
don't
would
think the
think you'd
league is
have to
gonna.
move to like the same calendar as the NBA then.
Yeah.
Like you can't
You'd have
have
to either start and be like baseball, start in early April and end in November, or you'd have to
well
mirror
that
the NBA. Which, if they
the
mirror the NBA, that's a whole slew of problems because like
that's
arena contracts and concert.
that logistical problems. I do think so many logistics would need to be ironed out. But the people who think, oh, that would be like the death knell for the WNBA if it's competing concurrently with the NBA, like that, I'm not worried about that at all.
No, I'm
It
not. I
would
think
it would be
logistically it would be
it
terrible.
would it would be a headache and then you'd have to be in a spot too where like the Wolves and Lynx, while that's a perfect practice facility when it's just one or the two of them in there, but it's not suitable for teams to be practicing simultaneously.
Exactly.
So that those are the type of logistics that I think they'd like to avoid. I'm not campaigning for a calendar move, which did just happen in Major League Soccer. For my soccer heads out there, and I've got takes. So hit me up on the 10 seconds a month that I'm on Twitter or on Blue Sky. We can get these MLS takes off too. Um, the dumbest thing that I saw out there from the league is wanting training camp to start in mid-March.
Yeah.
And that like pissed me off. Like cuz that's just them being like you know like
Suck it,
being
EuroLeague.
fully political about, yeah, suck at EuroLeague, suck at college basketball, suck at like play like fans love rookies. We've seen rookies have a pretty damn big impact in this, and like that's just them being assholes to start more debate and make this thing take longer because
Yeah.
that's so stupid
No,
and
yeah, you don't wanna
doesn't
compete
live up
against college, you don't wanna
to
compete
any.
against the NBA, you don't wanna compete against like, if you can avoid that, like, I'll
It's
hear
an
them out
unreasonable schedule
on
for players
April.
coming into the league from college basketball as it is,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, they
you
talk about it every year that it's like, you get done with the tournament, and then you have to get on a plane.
starting early is even earlier. It's just ridiculous. It's just unhinged greed on so many levels. There's so many problems that you need to fix. Like stop creating new ones. 'Cause
Yes.
that's just dumb. Um, anyway, this would be a crazy offseason no matter what, because there's two expansion teams coming. Um, we have a little bit of information on the expansion draft front. Messers, Portland Fire, Toronto Tempo, the newest additions to the sisterhood of the WNBA. Great reporting from Kevin Pelton. And so I need to put this out here now. I have no issue with the reporting here or Kevin's great piece on ESPN, which details all this beautifully. It's the first bit of clarity we have on this expansion draft. So I'm not criticizing Kevin or his reporting. I am saying this is still dumb. I don't think I think it's impossible to do an expansion draft with most of the league as unrestricted free agents. And this is I guess the solution that the league is coming up with. Um it's going to kind of be a hybrid of the old CBA and the new CBA because I don't think this can happen based on until a new CBA is agreed to.
Yeah.
But it's also based on roster construction from the previous CBA. So it's just a mishmash of confusion. The only way the WNBA can. So we're gonna
Having
talk
two
this
teams come in on a
through.
year where everybody's like, this is a WNBA specific problem. Like, the WNBA knew 90% of the league was a free agent this offseason.
Right.
The WNBA knew the players were likely to opt out of the CBA. I mean, even 2 years ago, they knew that. And they still made the conscious decision to have these two teams come in this year. So, like, it truly is a wholehearted, like, WNBA specific issue.
Everything everywhere all at once. The Kathy
Yep.
Engelbert story. So here's a little bit. This is directly from Kevin's reporting, which was published yesterday morning on ESPN. So last month, ESPN reported that the expansion draft for the incoming Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo is expected to feature different rules than last year's version that stocked the Golden State Valkyries with the makings of a playoff roster. With so many WNBA veterans headed to unrestricted free agency, the new CBA certain to massively increase salaries, teams are expected to be allowed to protect only 5 players each rather than last year's 6, because the 2 expansion teams will be able to pick among players whose rights are held even if they did not play in the WNBA last season, and because they can pick one unrestricted free agent each to potentially deploy the core designation. There will be difficult decisions as protected lists are finalized. So those are the second and third paragraphs of this. I think we all expected there'd be a version of the core in this new CBA.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the players who didn't play last year are eligible. So this means protecting players who are no longer under contract to play for your basketball team, and all of this stuff. So I think that at least informs what it is. Um, Toronto and Portland, they can only pick one unrestricted free agent from the whole field of unprotected players. So it's
Right.
not like one per team or whatever. So you can say, oh, should we leave this player unprotected? They would have to give them essentially what this new max would be. Um, and so Kevin has a list, and I think we of the projected protected for the Lynx and the projected unprotected. So I think I should read Kevin's list here, and then we can share our thoughts and maybe adjustments. How does that sound?
What would your thoughts be on share Kevin's list,
Okay.
and then we just do our own list? Because mine's,
Yeah.
to be honest,
Is there
quite a bit different than Kevin's.
Mine is different by maybe one slot, but
Mine's different by 2 slots, but
okay.
you know.
All right, so here for the great Kevin Pelton of ESPN, projected protected. And he starts out with a real hot take, Nafisa Collier. Just kidding. That's obviously obvious. So Fee, as an unrestricted free agent, is protected.
Mhm.
And then he also protects 3 other about to be unrestricted free agents: Kayla McBride, Alana Smith, Courtney Williams, and then the final protected player is Dorka Yuhas, who is playing well for Galatasaray right now in Turkey. Did not play in the 2025 season, but is under a team controlled rookie contract. So as these expansion teams are playing, salary cap chess and everything, those contracts are important for the full scope of roster construction. That leaves the projected unprotected as Bridget Carlton, unrestricted free agent; Dejanay Carrington, unrestricted free agent; Aubrey Griffin; Natisha Heidemann, unrestricted free agent; French sensation Maya Hirsch, who we've yet to see; Masha Klundakova; Ola Kosu; Jessica Shepard, unrestricted free agent; Jalen Sherrod, who is reserved free agent; Cameron Taylor, who's a reserved free agent. Masha is also a reserve free agent. Sorry for not including that. That runs the risk of, so the Portland or Toronto could then take either Carlton, Carrington, Heidemann, or Jess, but they would be locked into only offering whatever this max salary is. So that's the risk that you take.
And that's their pick. So the
Right.
other 13 teams in the league, whoever they have on their list, that's unprotected. If Portland's like, we want T, you got T. Everyone else that's
Right.
unprotected is technically safe.
Yes, from Portland. So yeah, only
Yes.
two unprotected, two unrestricted free agents will be selected in this entire expansion draft in the entire
Now
league.
that does mean that Portland could select, like, let's say they select
Well,
BC and then they go up to Dijonay in the free agency and they could say, here is a Brinks truck, but
right.
they can't
They
force
can do
both
that,
of
yeah.
them to play on their team. It
Which
would be
goes
one
into
or
my
the other, and
original
then the
point
other
that
team.
this is dumb,
Very
but
dumb.
it's
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 very
what
dumb.
we have. Yes.
Which, like, from a players association
Uh,
standpoint, I feel like you probably have a good idea of like what 10 players are in the running to get picked by Portland or
sure.
Toronto. And you probably just go up to those players and they're like, hey, we'll get you a Puma deal. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Sure. You mentioned your list is quite a bit different. I would like to hear your five protected players.
Yeah, so my 5 protected fee, obviously. K-Mac, I think just from the
Yeah.
culture standpoint, you can pretty much put her in Sharpie that she would be back if she's playing basketball, which I
Right.
have every indication that she's playing basketball. And then Alana Smith, which, I mean, she's still drinking flat whites out of Lynx cups down in Australia right now. Seems like she would like to come back. I think her and Fee have the chemistry. I wouldn't core Courtney. I just think if you're
But
coring,
protect
or
Courtney.
I wouldn't protect Courtney. I
Right.
think if you're protecting her, that's a big sign that you're going to give her a max contract. And I think if Toronto or Portland want to give Court a
W-
max deal for multiple years of a 33-year-old point guard, historically that works out pretty well. I mean, that
Or
works
you
out pretty
probably just
well
let
for
him
the
do it.
team that's giving up the 33-year-old point guard. And then
Yeah.
Dorka, I wouldn't I wouldn't say I'd like waste it, but I wouldn't put it on her. I mean, we haven't seen her in 2 years. If she comes back, she's your backup big between Lan and Collier. Like, personally, I would give Dijonay one. I think there's a
Sure.
good chance she comes back. I think she fits really well with Fee, Lan, and K-Mac. And like, Dijonay is young enough to where you can see a really bright future for her on this team, especially if it's a longer term deal. And
Right.
then the other person, this is like probably me just overthinking it, but like, I really like Ola still. She's
Sure.
team protected for 3 years. She's 20 years old on last year's CBA rookie contract. Like, I love that contract. I think she's a good asset. And I think she's someone that if you don't protect, one of those teams is just going to take her in the
Yeah.
seventh round.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like as you approach this, and also it's worth mentioning too that these lists don't get made public. So
Correct.
we'll the
We will
only
not know.
we the only person over this whole new expansion era we know they haven't protected is Chechi because she was in fact selected.
Mhm.
Had Golden State not picked a single Lynx player, we wouldn't know anyone who was on or off that list. So, like you mentioned that it's a sign that you're gonna at least approach offering Courtney something. I don't even know if the players will see this or if they'll know they're
I
protected or
would
not.
not, if I was an organization, I would not open up that can of worm. I would
Um,
just say all of you are
unless
protected
it's in the
and
new
then
CBA that
burn.
players have to be informed they're standing on an expansion draft list. Again,
Unless that's in the CBA, I would just eat the piece of paper in front of them
sure.
and then never let them
Um,
see it. But I would say, like, I am pretty, like, that would be my 5 because Ola, I think, is a risk to get picked later in the draft. And that salary, if they keep like last year's salary to bridge into the new CBA, like, you're getting a player that's going to be at like a fourth
well,
of what the veterans minimum is
yeah, that's the reason I slightly disagree on Dorka because she's on a good contract.
for one
Uh,
year, though. I think she
for
only
one
has
year, for one
for
year,
one
yeah.
year.
Um, so yes, we're in lockstep with the top three, where it's like it's it's Fee, it's Lan, and then it's KMAC, where I wouldn't expect either of those franchises to commit that salary to KMAC, but she is still really damn good.
Yep.
Is from
culture
everything I can
setter.
see, timeless. Like I mentioned on the show last, like yeah, like K-Mac wants to be a Lynx for 20 more years, and I'm not going to be the one to, to tell her that's too long. So,
Exactly.
um, like you can see, so like you're Sandy Brondello in Toronto, and you're used to being in the mix, in the thick of it. Like you're not like, oh, I'm gonna take it slow. Like I'm sure there's a long-term plan and some proactiveness there in Toronto, but she wants to win this thing, and we just saw the Golden State Valkyries in their first year and give the Lynx everything they had in that game too. I could see like a bigger star or bigger name, but if you could be cooking with grease pretty fast if you're starting your expansion roster around a very respected veteran who is not going to accept anything but excellence like Kayla McBride. So you got to protect K-Mac.
And as free agency heats up, like look at Golden State last year. They had Veronica Burton, who we didn't know was going to be good. Like that was
Right.
their asset. That was their selling point in free agency was like,
Come
hey,
play with VB.
come play with VB. She might be good. Chechi's here.
Right.
We have the Iowa kid. Like if you're Sandy and you can say we have a multi-time all-star veteran
Sure.
that's going to shoot 40% from three and always do the team first.
Right.
Like that's a building block that I would be afraid of losing.
Right. And of course, all this means is you're protecting K-Mac. That is
Yeah.
protecting her from this one pick. Toronto can still approach her and offer $1 less than the max or whatever these new salary cap rules are. So that's why even the language of protecting feels dumb. But anyway, that's my top
It does
three.
feel dumb.
And then I think I'm waffling between do I put Dijonay on this list, which is maybe putting my role as the president and founder of the Dijonay
Well,
Carrington
here,
fan club in
let me
jeopardy.
try and convince you
But
first.
what would you give Dijonay a max?
I don't
Like
think I'd give her a max, but I think BC is a bigger flight risk. Like I think
I
teams are going to offer BC a lot
I,
of money.
I think Toronto, especially Toronto, is going to try to get BC, but they're not going to use their one
Correct.
pick in this draft on BC. So that's why
Correct.
BC is not a candidate for my five, even though like I mean I could just give these two spots, these protected spots to Carrington and BC as I am a huge fan of both and would like both. And I'm really excited about the training camp story of open position battle for the number 3 starting spot. Or there's the starting spot at the 3.
I
But
I think so. Like part of this is if you don't protect Courtney, you're kind of daring one of these teams of like, hey, give Court a max, which
right.
a 4-year max for a 33-year-old point guard is one of those things that like
I just don't
can
see that happening.
submarine a franchise.
Sure.
Like I think that's like daring a dumb GM to like do that. And if they don't bite on Court, then you come back and say, hey, Court, we protected you, man. Like I don't know what you're hearing in the news,
No.
but like they didn't want to give you a
I
max. Like we'll give you
There will
this
be no
over
leaks
two.
about what the Lynx are doing. I'm just gonna
Right.
say that right now. I can
Right. But
try,
like
Lynx fans,
there's
but I'm
a
not gonna get anything.
in
Cheryl's
my
gonna
head, there's this
laugh in my face if I try to get that information.
but like in my so like I can formulate like a okay, they might not take Court because she's older and they'd have to give her the max. We can come back in and grab that. BC I wouldn't core because like I think she might be gone
Right.
anyways. And if they don't take her, you can have those conversations.
Well,
Dijonay on that list of people to me is I don't think I'd give her a max,
no.
but you could see
Well,
again, like she is young still. She has that shooting ability. She has that like fight in her where like
right.
I could see Portland saying, okay, these are the top 5 people that we have on our board. And Dijonay's in that top 5.
Let's
Because
core
like you're
Dijonay.
not getting like Brianna Stewart, right? Like you're getting the
She's
6th
not
best player.
eligible. Yeah.
Right. So you're getting like the 6th or 7th best player on a team
Right.
still. I think you can do a lot worse than Dijonay. And I
Yeah.
would be worried that they would be tempted to say, here's a 28-year-old two-way player that has the chutzpah to be like an offensive asset and a lockdown defender.
Right. I think you just convinced me to have the same list you do. To have I'll add Dejanay as a protected player, and then also protect Ola, because
Yeah.
I think Ola is a perfect expansion draft pick,
Yep.
and the Lynx. I won't say it was a risky pick, but they were very excited when Ola was there at the 15, and to bring in a young player from Russia and put in a lot of work with her this season. Obviously, she was a great teammate, and the Ola minutes like were always so fun,
Yeah.
and there,
If
there's
she can
there's no
play small
certainty.
forward, and you're looking at a world after K-Mac where you have whoever they draft this year, Ola, Dejanay, Fee, and Lan. Like that's not a
Right.
bad place to build 2 years from now.
No, and maybe because my point, or just like my thinking on it, it was never a short term pick,
Yes.
and like a lot of long term investment has been made into her. You don't want to risk giving that up. So
Correct.
in this exercise, Ola is the fourth player I'm protecting, because I think it makes the most sense
Agreed.
after those three who I can't see go. And then I would be tempted. I'm 50% on daring them to select Dejanay with that spot and protecting Dorka, because not that I think Dorka is completely irreplaceable, and then also the Lynx will have their chance in free agency and say Fee's back. You have Cheryl, you have Fee. You're gonna have the same amount of cap space in this new world as everyone else. You have the number 2 pick in the draft, probably a bunch of other returning players. Players are gonna want to come here. So
Yeah.
the Lynx will be positioned well, but just we're looking at the eyes of last year's roster and how close it came, and you're thinking about the 2024 finals too, where Dorka wasn't exactly super playable, but
Hmm.
she's having a good season for one of Europe's biggest clubs. And last year it was we need more depth. Like Land needs help. You need
Yeah.
to be able, especially, and it's not just in the playoffs either. You need to have a regular season where Land can rest more
Yeah.
and be on the bench more and be more ready to go, or just like have more left in the tank when you get into the semis and the finals. And Dorka aids in that. So I think right now I'm like 80% certain it's Fee, Land, Kamek, Ola, Dorka on my protected list. And then I would expect, I think Dejanay would be the most likely player to be selected with one of those spots. I don't think T, Courtney, BC, or Shep would be candidates for another front office to be like, we're committing this percentage of our salary cap to making sure we have this player.
I do think it will be interesting though, because again, like certain players aren't eligible. Like John Carl Jones is not eligible. They don't
No,
have to protect her in New York. Like you mentioned, like Stewie, they don't have to protect her. Like
they
I
do
do
not.
think in this world, like the Lynx have more to lose because I
Yeah.
think they will have probably 4 out of the top 10 players that are on this list of who they can choose. And
Yeah.
like you, I could see them taking Dejanay. If Courtney isn't protected, I could see them saying she's an all-star caliber point guard. Like, screw the back end of the deal. We need to be competitive. BC, I think they could look at and be like, look at what she's done overseas in the past. Like, the Lynx are underutilizing her, this, that, and the other. T is a champion, was a starting point guard on a championship team or a championship runner-up
Has
team, and
literally never not made it as to the semifinals or further in her career.
right, like that is a winner. She has the attitude for it. Maybe you get T and max her, and then Court comes with as a stud buds package deal for a team looking to boost their PR. Like I do think the Lynx are going to lose
Right.
one
Well,
player in this.
when you go through this list too, there's not a ton of just Kevin's projected is just a good starting point to kind of have a view of the league from 30,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be a bona fide all-star
Yeah.
who is left unprotected here. And one of I wouldn't be surprised if we get to a point where neither franchise opts to use that because they then wouldn't be able to use that max or core in prop free agents proper when like
Two
because
two
the
year
legs can protect fee, but that Portland and Toronto can still be like, hey, fee, here's a well they wouldn't be core is for the only like the returning team, so I guess that doesn't make sense there, but it might be
to anyone else on
the
the
max,
roster though.
right? So they don't have to use it. So if you God, that maybe I think I just talked myself into protecting Dejanay instead of Dorka.
To
That's why
your
we're doing this
To
live.
your
It's good
Dorka point,
podcasting.
though, like I do want to say to your Dorka point, she is also eligible to get picked in the second round of the expansion draft. So if you aren't protecting Dorka, you're acknowledging that Dorka is gone. Because I do think one of those teams would take Dorka as in that expansion draft.
Yeah, Dorka is very close with Ola as a great expansion pick. The
Yep.
only thing is it's one less year of team control.
So
Less years of team control.
if you're saying you're protecting Dorka, you're saying we don't want her to leave this year, which
Right.
I think is fair. I just think I would opt for the chance to re-sign Dejanay and not have her drafted over
Yeah.
having the backup big solidified. But also I think this could tell us a lot of who, like if Courtney does get picked by Portland, like we probably know who the Lynx are really valuing behind the scenes. Like we'll never get that list, but I think you can
No.
look at the roster and be like, okay, well, Ola and Dorka didn't get picked.
They're
They
expected to
hoard them.
be. Yeah, if Ola or Dorka don't get picked, then you know that they were almost certainly protected.
Right.
Um
I would say like if they don't get picked, we know that they were protected because like
yeah.
Ola is the perfect pick for a expansion draft. Like relatively unknown, short contract, and she's spent a
But
year in the Cheryl Reeve system. And Dorka is a starting caliber center. Like
yeah,
I think if they don't get picked, we kind of know what the Lynx did.
sure. All right. Well, we have no idea when this is going to happen.
Correct.
we uh again, this is all reported, but great job by Kevin for laying this out. That's at ESPN.com. Andrew, that's the time that we have with each other today. Are there any burning thoughts that you need to get off your chest related to or related to the Minnesota Lynx and the WNBA? This is
Let's
a safe
say
space.
what if they do the expansion after the WNBA draft and they say your draft picks are eligible?
They can't do that because I would hate it.
Because then you're having to sit there and say, like, man, now we got a core number 2 overall pick fee.
Well, I mean, again, core, like we're gonna need
Or not
a
core.
new,
We have to
but
protect our number 2 overall pick fee.
they have picks. No, you can't do that just because I said so. I mean, there are reasonings for it too, but I mean, because it's like the lottery is has always been the teams last year, and then the expansion teams come in at the first post lottery picks. Um, I do expect a lot of draft picks will be traded. I think Portland and acquire some draft picks and draft capital, but yeah, no, I don't think they can do that. Sorry.
Oof. Well,
I
that
would.
ruined my reckless speculation because I think that does
Well,
open
the
up.
reckless speculation's fun, but
But
I would hate that so much if like
it would also be
the,
like kicking the bad teams while they're down.
it would
Like,
it would also hurt the integrity of the draft
yeah,
is important to me. So
that's
I
fair.
hope they do this before free agency
Yes.
Like, I think this is the first domino that needs to fall. And I'm still team, hey, you can't do an expansion draft. Give them like additional cap space or cap relief. The entire league is entering unrestricted free agency. This feels silly. Sorry, Portland and Toronto, but
objectively, I agree with you.
yeah.
Like, I not even just like every way that you can look
They're
at
not
something
going to do it that way,
metaphysically,
but like I still
like I
have yet
agree
to
with
be
you.
convinced that any other thing is a better solution.
I do think there's a way for the Players Association to literally go up to the 10 players that might get picked and be like, hey man, it sucks to suck. Like, you're a sacrificial lamb. Like, I'm sorry about that. Like, here's a Puma shoe deal for when you're playing in Europe next year. Like, I think there's a way to do it where it smooths over, but like on its surface, it just seems dumb. Like, just give the two teams an extra core spot.
Sure. Something
Like
that.
there seems to be like way easier solutions
Or
that make more sense.
they both get the first and second picks of the second round next year.
Right.
Just something, because they're going to have the same cap space to approach these unrestricted free agents as well. And
and they have appealing spots. Like, Portland's
yeah.
a great women's sports city. Like, they don't, like, the Blazers, even when they're bad, get good turnout at NBA games. Like, it's a good market. Toronto is going to be an awesome place to play. Sandy is an awesome coach to play for. Like, I do think they have a lot to offer. So just like, I don't know, make some exception for them cap wise, and then let's all move on. So we don't have to worry about Dorka and Ola getting picked in an expansion draft this year.
No, unfortunately, we will. When once a date's announced, I won't sleep until it's over. Andrew, thank you as always.
Of course,
for joining.
Happy to be here. Anytime you need a guest, even if it's in a sweat of panic, I got you.
Right. We were perpetually in a sweat of panic over here at the Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network. So thanks.
Very sweaty people over here.
At ADukeMN. He's at every basketball game ever that takes place somehow. Follow his work, Zone Coverage, Minnesota, and here at Hitting the Hardwood. Hitting the Hardwood. Hitting the Hardwood. Not hitting the hard work. I'm never hitting that.
No. We try to avoid that.
Couldn't imagine. Thanks, buddy. I will see you soon.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again to Andrew Dukowitz, my friend and colleague, for joining me on this episode of Lynx Happy Hour. Go follow Andrew and consume all of his work if you're not already, which would be shocking, but just in case, that's at ADukeMN across social media channels. And find his Wolves and Lynx stuff at Zone Coverage, mn.com. Gonna try to do at least one more of these things before the new year. Probably next week, maybe the week after, if we can get one in between Christmas and New Year's, to have some Lynx themed listening for you all during your holiday travels. So hopefully one more episode coming with the 2025 version of the show, the first season ever of Lynx Happy Hour. And if just in case we don't do an episode next week or the week after, just from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank all of you for listening and supporting the show this first season as we're doing it. Long known, there's been plenty of space for more Lynx content out there, and just especially want to thank Nate Pence and his team for helping this show come to life, and just everyone who's been a guest on the show, everyone who's come up at games just to say something nice about it, say they enjoyed listening, whatever. I super duper appreciate it, and have been so happy to make the show for you all. So more exciting things coming in 2026. The show will be back. We'll have as much episode throughout the off season as there is. Hopefully one day, if there's enough holiday magic out there in the moonlight, we'll be talking about a brand new CBA early in the 2026, in the days of 2026. We can only hope and dream for that. But yeah, we'll be back with stuff. More great guests. Got a long list of folks who'll be reaching out to get on the show for the first time. We'll have some of your old favorites back for more episodes for sure. and a couple other things that I can't talk about yet, but we'll be able to soon. So stay tuned. Make sure you're liked and subscribed, rated, reviewed, 5 stars. It really helps us grow the show a lot. Have an incredible holiday season, everybody. If I don't talk to you again next week, but stay tuned for an all-new episode of Links Happy Hour coming soon. Have a great weekend. Have a great holiday season with friends and loved ones. And thanks again for supporting the show, everybody. Peace.